In our model about entry deterrence that we saw in the previous segments, we had an assumption. We had that the firms compete with respect to price. What I want to show you now is what happens when you have generalized competition. You do not only restrict competition in price, competition can be in anything. Doesn't matter if it's quantities, in prices, it matters, but we will make a model that it will accommodate everything. Any kind of competition in research, in quality, in differentiation, in everything that you want to have, this will be captured by this generalized model that I will show you now. It's a little difficult, it needs focus, but I think you can do it. So, general entry setting. Consider a game between an incumbent firm, that we will denote by I now because this is clearly an incumbent, and we also have a potential entrant that we will denote by E. So, incumbent and a person who is interested in entering the market. We will have 3 stages. In the first stage, the incumbent chooses a level of investment. This investment can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be capacity like we did before. It can be capacity, it can be advertisement, it can be lobbying, it can be anything you want to be. So, the investment is KI. It will be done by the incumbent, that's why it has an index I there, and it will be the first thing that will happen in our model. In the second stage, the entrant will observe KI, will see how much investment the incumbent has done, and it will decide if it will enter. There's no KE, there's no investment done by the entrant here. We don't need that. We will apply the Occam's razor and we are going to keep this out of the model because it will not make a big difference. You can do it if you want, but it will make the model unnecessarily complicated, and it's already a little bit complicated, as you will see. Then firms will simultaneously compete in some strategic variable that we call X. Incumbent sets XI, entrant sets XE, and it doesn't matter what X is. X can be price, can be quantity, can be anything you want. Quality, they can be R&D, they can be anything that you want to imagine. So this model will accommodate everything, and we will see how this will work in a moment. Now, what is important to understand, and is the most important thing in this segment, is that there is a strategic effect. There is an effect that is not direct, is strategic. And this is the effect of the investment of the incumbent to the profit of the entrant. There is, of course, an effect of the investment of incumbent to the profit of the incumbent. This is a direct effect, but also there is a strategic effect. The investment of the incumbent has an effect on the profit of the other guy. Okay, and this is crucial here. Now that is, KI, how does this effect work? How does it channels from I to E? KI affects XI. XI is causatively related with XE, and XE affects the profit of E. So you have this channel that you go from KI to XI to XE to PE. All right, this is a difference that you have to understand. That's why I really want to focus on that. You have a result from KI to XI to XE to PE. So, what is this strategic effect? First of all, it can be negative. All right, it can be, it doesn't have to, but it can be negative. An example, capacity. When you build higher capacity, this means that you decrease your cost. So incumbent builds capacity, we should expect that incumbent's cost, because of higher capacity and economies of scale, will go down. If your costs go down, it means that you expect it to produce higher quantity because now it's cheaper to you. If you produce higher quantity, we have already seen that quantities are related inversely. Okay, so you will have a decrease in the quantity of E. Observe here that K is capacity in this particular example, and X is quantity. Okay, so I increase my capacity, I invest in Ki, that is, then I decrease my cost, which means that my quantity will go up. This means that the quantity of my opponent is expected to go down, and therefore the profit of my opponent will go down because we'll sell to less customers, less quantity, and that is a smaller market share. Okay, so we go from K to PE in this strategic effect that in our case it is negative. If the strategic effect is negative, in the terminology of industrial organization we call that the incumbent is tough, a tough guy. Now, this effect can also be positive, doesn't have to be negative. It cannot be positive in the same example, but it can be positive in a different example when you have different dynamics going on. What are these dynamics? Assume now K is not capacity, but it's advertisement. One thing about advertisement that is very important, that much that all advertisements understand, is that advertisement can have a pulling effect into the market, meaning that you advertise your product, but this means that not only your brands will be advertised, but maybe people say, okay, yes, Colgate is a good toothpaste, but also there are other toothpastes, let me buy more toothpaste. All right, so of course it will be better for your brand, but it will pull the entire market up because now the product is advertised. So if you have advertisement by the incumbent, then this will increase the market demand in general at some point, and then the increase in demand will cause increase in both quantities, and therefore this will increase the profit of the entrant also, the potential profit for the entrant. So now Ki has a positive effect on PE, and this is a positive strategic effect. In this case, we say not that the incumbent is tough anymore, is not. The incumbent in this case is soft. Be careful. These do not have to do with the attitude of the incumbent and how the incumbent behaves into the firm. Okay, we do not have a hard guy, a tough guy, and then a soft guy. We just have the investment that makes the incumbent appear tough or soft. So, let's talk about how strategic complementarity or substitutability and toughness or softness will affect the strategy of your business, the strategy in business in general about the competition in case that you have entry or potential entry. Any incumbent will deter if it's feasible and profitable. And let me use this exact time to ask you a question that you will have to answer. You will have to pause the video and answer this question for yourself. Imagine the following scenario. Imagine it's you outside of any business context, and you are suddenly, for some reason, maybe you're a castaway, you find yourself in a deserted island, and you're alone there. You have to survive by yourself. And at some point, you look at the beach and someone is coming. Another person is coming to the island. What is the first thing that you are going to do? What is the first thing that passes from your mind to react into this case? Pause the video and take a moment to think about it. Okay. Now, you probably thought, oh, well, I'm alone. Maybe this person is the love of my life. Oh, maybe this person will help me with surviving here. Or maybe with this person we have better chances to get out of this island. Or maybe with this person I will have someone to say my jokes or someone to talk to, and I'm not going to be bored. I hope you didn't say that I'm gonna kill this person. This would not be normal. and I hope you didn't. But if you were a firm, that's the first thing that would come to your mind. Firms, if they see another firm entering, the first thing that they want is to kill this firm and be alone. This is a much important difference that has to do with the business world and our personal world. Okay, business are ruthless. They want the profit all for themselves. Any reasonable business, if they can execute the other business, believe me, they will. So, any incumbent will deter if they can, and this will give them a profit. All right, so let's start by understanding this, because this will make a difference. You accommodate only if you can do nothing different, only if you cannot deter. So accommodation is the second best in most of the cases. It's not your preferred choice. In any case, by preparing yourself for fight, you can improve the position in your last stage. So by adjusting your investment in the first stage, you can improve the position that you will be in the last stage. So the question that we have to answer here is that should the incumbent go for high investment in the beginning or for low investment in the beginning? This will depend on two factors. The first factor is the strategic relevance. What is the competition between XI and XC? Do you have substitutability or you have complementarity between the strategic variables? And the second thing that depends on is if the incumbent is tough or soft. These two factors will give us 4 different combinations. You have 4 different combinations that you have substitutes and toughness, substitutes and softness, complementarity and toughness, or complementarity and softness. And we will see what happens in all 4 of these cases in the next segment.